So, I got an ad for this game on social media. I can't remember the platform exactly, but it was likely Twitter or Facebook, as those are the two that I use the most at work. My day job is now content and social media, so I'm on the socials like a lot. I probably use Twitter and Facebook for at least 4 to 5 hours a day. And this game called Wildgate popped up, which is another sci-fi hero-based shooter, and immediately I thought, oh god, it's another one of these, you know, the trend that every developer is chasing. So I wanted to go and look into it and, you know, find out if it was unique at all. It turns out that it's actually quite unique. I haven't played a game like this, and I think it's just because of the setting of the game. It's the fact that the game is entirely in space. Many people actually say that this game is basically Sea of Thieves, but in space. Now, I personally haven't played Sea of Thieves, so I can't make that comparison, but I've seen gameplay, and I can understand why people make the comparison there. Now, the basics of Wildgate are that there are 5 ships in space that have 5 crewmates per ship, so a total of 25 players. You will spawn on your ship and you have to defend that ship from oncoming attackers, which are the enemy players. But at the same time, you can also do little PvE outpost missions where you can go and find ship upgrades, new weapons, etc. that you can bring back to your ship. So maybe you'll find like a shield boost for your ship, or maybe you'll find some ammunition for your ship's turrets. Maybe you'll find a new weapon over there that you can bring back to use. Maybe you'll find a bomb which you can then bring with you to an enemy ship to, you know, blow it up. So that aspect is really cool. It is a PvPvE. The ships also are like human controlled. They're not NPC or AI driven, and they don't have like a predetermined path that they'll follow. They're actually controlled by a player, so you'll have to maneuver and actually avoid oncoming attack. You'll have to turn into different stations you want to visit and try and loot, and you'll have to take part in ship versus ship combat. Each ship has turrets which you can man and try and take down enemy ship shields, and then once the shields are depleted, you can actually attack the ship's health, or you can try and sneak in by boarding as a player. You can go into space, fly down or up, wherever it may be, onto the enemy ship, board through the doors, overheat their core, kill all the enemies inside. And I think if you might have to overheat the core like 3 times or something to basically destroy the ship. The last crew flying is obviously the crew that wins the game, and that's how you can win. However, there's also an extraction element. You can be the first crew to escape with the artifact, which is the secondary way to win a match, and you can also win that way. Now, it was only a couple days ago we were talking about a game called Marathon, which again is a PvP with PvE elements game. It's a shooter that's first person, set in space, sci-fi, that kind of thing, that has extraction elements. But that game is just the most bland and boring and uninspired and unoriginal thing, and then you've got games like this which are genuinely trying to innovate and do something different with the hero extraction PvE combination genre that seems to be quite popular right now. This is the kind of stuff we need, something really different. Like I said, I personally, I'm sure there are other games like this, but I personally haven't played a game anywhere like remotely near this since this genre became like a fad. Something else that's cool is that no match is ever the same. It's always like a new adventure because the environments for the game are procedurally generated. I guess this is quite easy to do when it's in space because there's no terrain, right? So it's just different locations for the outposts, different looking outposts. The ships will spawn in different locations. There's also like asteroids and things that you have to avoid. Those can also provide cover when you're in gunfights with enemy ships. And I like that there's an attacking and defending element to it. In all other PvP and PvE extraction style games, the only goal is, kill the opponents or grab the items and leave. Whereas with this one, you do have to have someone who stays back at your base and heals areas that are damaged, puts out fires, things like that, repair the turrets, cool down your ship if it starts to overheat. So you can't all just charge out and attack. There is actually like some, there's some strategy. There's a bit of a tactical nature to it. This game actually has like a lot of elements. It's trying to be a lot of things, and it doesn't fail at doing that. It does them all quite well. So far, I've only played 2 matches, but the matches are quite long. The first match I played was 20 minutes, and I think the second match was even longer. I think it was about 25, 26 minutes. So they are quite long. Now, obviously, I'm sure there's ways to like metagame it and win the match in, let's say, 10 to 12 minutes. But so far, yeah, my average match time is, let's say, about 22, 23 minutes long. But it's not like an arena shooter, for example, where you're going in and expect the match to be over in 8 to 10 minutes. You do need to actually have like a decent chunk of time spare to play a few matches of this, which is why I've only played 2. Because I need to go to bed soon. But I will be playing more. I'm not sure when the playtest ends, but currently, yeah, there's a community playtest that you can request access to. Player count is pretty decent as well. I'm finding a match in an average search time of about 50 seconds, which isn't super fast, but also isn't super long. For for an alpha playtest, this is something that I'd expect, searching for between 30 seconds to a minute for a match is perfectly acceptable. And there's a decent amount of people playing. There was a peak of 2,000 yesterday, and today's peak is 1,000. So, a little bit of drop off, that's expected. But 1,000 players, yeah, you're going to be able to find a match in a minute of searching. Now, it's not perfect. There are some things that I do want to say that I think should change. If any of the devs are watching this and you've got to this point, personally, I'm not a huge fan of the respawning system. It's a really old way of respawning, very similar to like Unreal Tournament. You spawn and essentially you are invulnerable for I think like 3 seconds when you spawn in. But what this creates is a loop where you spawn, you can't hit the enemy and the enemy can't hit you for 3 seconds, and it's just kind of awkward because you're looking at each other. And then, when the enemy can realize they can shoot you, you just start blasting each other. And it's not like a safe spawning system where I know that I'm going to spawn in a safe location where there's no enemies around. I can get my bearings and, and dive into the action again when I'm ready. It's kind of like you just spawn and it's like, 3, 2, 1, brrr. It's very quick, and it's frustrating. It's frustrating for the player who's spawning, and it's frustrating, I'd argue more so frustrating for the player who's attacking, because I've been in scenarios where I've killed, let's say, 2 or 3 players on a ship, and for a brief moment that ship is empty, or maybe there's only 1 player left, and I'm like, right, now I can do tasks such as deplete the shields, I can overheat the engine, the core, whatever. However, then you'll see a player spawning next to you, and you're like, oh, time to kill this player who's spawning next to me. I don't want him to, to kill me, to spoil my my travels onto this ship to try and blow it up. But you can't attack that player because he's invincible for 3 seconds. So it's just awkward. It's like, what do I do in this situation? I just end up staring at players like, hello, I'm just waiting for you to respawn so we can attack each other. It's just weird. It'd be much easier if you just pick like this area of the ship has no players, therefore it's safe to spawn, or maybe even spawn them outside, like on top of the ship or something, or like, a couple meters away, just floating in space. Something like that. Spawning them like directly next to enemies is weird. So that's my biggest gripe right now, which I imagine can be an easy fix. Introduce some kind of safe spawning system, I think. The only other one that I would say is sometimes it's really hard to know when a player is near you. There's no footstep sounds from what I can tell, so you just start losing health and have red highlights on your screen, like, oh, I'm getting attacked. So there's no real any other indication other than a visual one. So some audio cues that players are nearby would be quite helpful. Other than that, the only other thing I'd say is that some of the PvE areas feel quite empty. You'll kill maybe 5 to 7 enemies, and then that's it. And then you're free to loot the area. The NPCs are very easy to kill. So maybe it's because they don't want the game to be super taxing on performance, but if possible, I'd maybe populate those little outposts a little bit more, probably something like double the current NPC size, just so they're a little bit more challenging. And if not increasing the amount of them, just increase the amount of health or damage they do. Just make the the NPCs a little bit smarter if possible. That'd be the only other thing. So there's just 3 or 4 things that could be improved, but it's a playtest. You'd expect things to need improvement, and I'd argue this is probably the best playtest of a shooter game that I've played in the past 12 months, and I think I've partaken in probably somewhere near 10. So it's pretty good. I'm enjoying it. Like I said, I'll be playing more of it, and yeah, hope to see more improvements when the game gets to release. I'm not sure when it releases. I don't think there's an official date. It just says on Steam releasing in 2025, so at some point in the next 7-8 months. So yeah, alright, hope you enjoyed this one. It's nice to make a positive video rather than just shitting on a new upcoming release. So I'm thankful that these guys have actually made a decent game, and we can talk about something in a positive light rather than just saying every game looks the same and they're boring and uninspired. Yeah, take part in the playtest if possible, wishlist it on Steam and all that stuff if you think it's interesting. And once again, shameless plug at the end of the video, I'm also somewhat of a game dev myself. And I am making a game that's very, very, very inspired by Helldivers and Halo, called Cross Planet. It's been in production for 4 years, but it's just me and one other dev. There's only 2 of us, and we just slowly chip away at it when we can. There should be some gameplay of it on screen. It's PvP and PvE. Yeah, wishlist it on Steam if you want. We're on the road to get 10,000 wishlists very slowly. We're at 5249 currently as I'm making this. So yeah, 5,249. So yeah, alright, thanks for watching. Goodbye. Oh, the game is called Cross Planet too, if you want to Google search it. There you go. Follow us on socials and stuff, and goodbye.